I believe in this party and all it stands for. I have been a lifelong Democrat, and I will work my heart out to make sure that our values, democratic values, are restored to our government again. That will be my singular purpose as president. Because, hear me clearly, the central issue in this election is integrity. Integrity is on the ballot next fall, and I know I can win that battle for America. Americans are increasingly connecting their worries about the future with the failed leadership of George W. Bush. He's committed almost $3 trillion of our national treasury in these 3 tax cuts, which we couldn't afford, which were largely unfair, and which we can now say 2.5 years into his administration haven't gotten the economy going. Today, it is the Democratic Party that is the party of fiscal responsibility and economic growth. So we're going to give the tax cut to 98% of the taxpayers, and we're going to make the top 2% pay. I believe we should keep the middle-class tax cuts that have been adopted recently, but I'm going beyond that. I'm saying that that the current tax system is unfair, and that the middle class is being squeezed by the poor economy, by job insecurity, by health care costs. It is a plan to restore tax fairness to our code. And what does that mean? Asking those who have more to pay more, closing corporate tax loopholes like the $2.1 billion we lose every year because corporations take their headquarters offshore. And what are we going to do with that money? We're going to give it to the middle class. Let's not let George Bush and the Republicans claim they have some kind of monopoly on values or faith-based values. They don't. When they desecrate the environment, as this administration has, that is desecrating the earth that God has created. When they give away our national treasury to people who don't need it in tax cuts because they're so wealthy, they don't have the money to help our children who are poor. He says he wants judges who will uphold the Constitution. But we know what that means. That's a code word for undermining or overturning Roe versus Wade. As president, I will not let that happen. And as we well know, 9 million kids lack the health insurance that will prevent the illnesses that will save them from going on those crisis trips to the emergency room. When I lead with integrity, I'm going to speak to my young friend and the young lady over there. We're going to give America real energy independence, right? We're going to do it with conservation and new technology, not by plundering precious natural resources like the Alaskan Wildlife Refuge or selling out to the interest of big oil. We can do it a smarter, better way. What else did they do? They promised a foreign policy, Bush did, that would be humble but strong. What did we get? Foreign policy that's been arrogant and therefore weak. They promised to rally, absolutely, and our security suffers from it. And after September 11th, they promised to rally the world to the war against terrorism. Instead, this president has poured salt in old wounds and opened new ones. This White House has betrayed the just cause of fighting terrorism and tyranny around the world. And now we learn what they were doing in addition to stop us from learning the truth. You've heard the words, and listen again. They're from the first President Bush. In 1999, he said, and I quote, "I have nothing but contempt and anger for those who betray the trust by exposing the name of our sources. They are," former President Bush said, "the most insidious of traitors." End of quote. Well, I wonder if that quote was hanging on the walls of the White House office when they leaked the name of a covert operative to punish her husband for telling us the truth. That was the politics of personal destruction at its worst, but it was just another day at the office for this crowd. By its deception and its disarray, this Bush administration has discredited the just cause of war against tyranny and terrorism. And now we find out that people on the Bush team blew the cover on a CIA agent putting her sources at risk and harming our national security. Now, I suppose to most of us, that would be the politics of personal destruction at its worst. To a lot of them in this administration, hey, that's just another day at the office. The fact is that America today faces a combination of challenges that were unimaginable just a few years ago. War, terrorism, deficits, unemployment, economic stagnation. More than ever, America needs democratic leadership. We are the party of Roosevelt and Truman and Kennedy and Johnson and Carter and Clinton. And make no mistake, that means we are the party of progress, of strength, of inclusion, of economic growth, and of global leadership.